I am so happy to present today our keynote speaker for this special midwinter presentation. Mr. Roland Martin, as his vita should be showing on the screen in just a moment, is a journalist by career. He speaks to over 8 million people daily on the podcast. He is, Mr. Martins is a senior analyst for the Tom Joyner Morning Show. There he has the ability to express opinions that are related to the African American community, both in entertainment, politics, and so many other areas. He has been named as one of the 150th most influential persons in America. I am pleased that he is a part of us this morning as the 2nd Episcopal District. Won't you welcome with me as our keynote speaker, and hopefully he will have enough time to hang around just to hear 2 or 3 of your questions should you desire to ask. Mr. Roland Martin, please welcome him now.
All right, how are we doing? First of all, I want to make sure that everyone can hear me, so please let me know if the audio is just fine.
It is fine, thank you.
All right, I certainly appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Glad to see everyone here on this Friday morning, this or Valentine's Eve, and so certainly a shout out to all your loved ones, and again, glad to be with all of you. It is an interesting time that we are living in, and it is one that calls for people of courage to stand up and speak up. We just dealt with, of course, getting rid of Donald Trump, one of the most evil and corrupt individuals ever served in the White House. But he was emboldened by people of faith. He was emboldened by white conservative evangelicals, folk who serve a different Jesus, folks who put P-R-O-F-I-T instead of having a prophetic P-R-O-P-H-E-T voice. And so we are living in a time where the church certainly needs, the black church has to assert its position and its authority when it comes to what is happening in this country. I want to jump right into what I want to talk about. And let me certainly thank my man, Pastor Jamal Bryant. You know, black folks always special. You can do something, and whether you're speaking in person or whether you are speaking virtual, they will send you text messages while you're speaking. So Jamal, I don't send you text messages when you're preaching. Well, I do when your video is messed up. So I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. So yes, I had to wear my Alpha shirt for all the Kappas who are out there listening, and so I got to show y'all what a real fraternity is all about. All right, let's get right to it. I want to jump right into this thing, and speak from the perspective of very simple. Now is the time for the black church to rise again. Now is the time for the black church to rise again. Somebody who is listening, they are likely saying right now, for the black church to rise again, we haven't gone anywhere. I dare say that isn't correct. We are living in a moment now where this requires leadership. We're living in a moment now where this requires moral leadership. We're living in a moment now where it requires folks issuing a clarion call to speak to the issues that matter most for our people. We're living in a moment now where the conversation about social justice and economic justice and race equity is being discussed, and the Black church is being seen as a secondary or having even a third role in that. Now, I am not suggesting that the Black church should be in competition with Black Lives Matter. What I'm saying is, when you talk about the historical role of the Black church, it did not just simply represent a biblical or moral leadership in terms of within the walls of the church. It also represented leadership outside of the walls of the church. You're speaking to someone who, when they were starting a Catholic church in the neighborhood where I grew up, Clinton Park in Houston, Texas, the first meeting to found that Catholic church was in my grandparents' living room. It was in their living room. At the time, they migrated from Louisiana, and if you wanted to start a new church, what you had to do was you had to literally go to all the houses in the neighborhood, and you had to get 50 families to agree to start a church. You had to go door to door. My grandparents did that. I am married to an ordained minister, Reverend Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, ordained in the Southern Baptist Church formerly with Southern Baptist Church. Reverend Ralph Douglas West just left them. That's a church without walls in Houston, Texas. That was that. I'm a Christian author. So the foundation of my life has always been the church. But the church today, in my opinion, the Black church today, in my opinion, and I'm speaking as a collective, is operating in many ways the same way our fraternities and sororities are. That is, we are operating insular, where we are so preoccupied with what is happening inside that what we're not doing is leveraging our power externally to be able to change the dynamics of our condition. Now, again, I'm speaking collectively. There are some who are moving and operating and moving the church outside of the walls. But when we look at us in significant ways, we are so preoccupied with what's happening inside the walls that people outside are then questioning what y'all doing. I've said to alphas and to kappas and omegas and sigmas and deltas and AKAs and zetas and sigma gamma rho and iota, I said, how is it that we have all of this collective power? We talk about the divine nine. We talk about all these members that we have, yet if black and gold and purple and gold and blue and white and crimson and cream walked into a school board meeting, into a city hall meeting, into a county commissioners meeting, folk would not know who those people were dressed the same. So I'm asking you this question. If the AME, the CME, COGIC, UMC, National Baptist Convention, Progressive National Baptist Convention, if groups of church folk showed up at City Hall, at the school board meeting, at the county commissioners meeting, at the state legislature, in Capitol Hill, would folks know who they are when they walked in? I'm gonna let that just sit right there for a second. Would they know who you are when you walked in? Will your presence represent your introduction to who they are? I was joking. With someone. We were joking about certain clothes, and I said to my friend and Jamal Bryant, appreciate this. My man Jeff Johnson. Jeff is a good friend of Jamal and I. And Jeff loves to wear them tapered pants. You know, Jeff's skinny like that. So Jeff's skinny like that. So I'm a bigger brother. Jamal not as robust as me. But I said, no, I got to wear pants where the cuffs pop. So the cuffs hit the door before I do. Folks fell out laughing. They were like, boy, you crazy. I said, no. I said, I got to have pants that flow. That my cuff hits the doorway before I walk into the room. Does your presence, does your power hit the room before you walk in? I want you to think about that for a second. When you get out the car and folk roll out the buses and you are approaching a building, do the folks inside see you and go, oh Lord, who are those folks coming our way? Can they look at your walk? Can they look at your face? Can they feel your presence before you even walk into the room? Let me repeat that. Can they feel your presence before you walk into the room? What I'm trying to get you to understand is that we are missing an opportunity. We are missing an opportunity to completely shape the future of Black America. And that can only happen when we are so preoccupied with what is happening inside. Somebody is watching and you're sitting here saying, but we're not, no, we're doing stuff. But you have to answer this. Are you present or do you have presence? Are you present, but do you have presence? See, we can show up, but doesn't mean we've actually shown out. See, for me, and you can call it arrogant, you can call it cocky, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But when Roland Martin walks into the room, I'm walking and letting folks know not only am I present, because you're seeing and hearing me, I'm also going to have presence. I'm not just going to show up and then you not realize I was there. Because see, when I'm showing up, I'm letting you know something is about to happen. Now, either you gonna do something or you're gonna get forced to do something, but what I'm not going to do is accept whatever it is that you are trying to do, and there won't be a response. Let me go back to Jamal and Jeff. The United States Senate was refusing to confirm Loretta Lynch as Attorney General. And I watched as all of these sisters walked to Capitol Hill and held news conferences and implored the Senate to confirm Loretta Lynch. Her Delta sorority sisters were marching on Capitol Hill. And I sat there, and Jeff and Jamal and myself, we were on the phone. I said, how the hell? And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I said, how in the hell are we seeing all these women marching on Capitol Hill saying confirm the first black female attorney general in U.S. history, and I don't see no men? I'll say it. No frats, no men's ministries, no 100 black men. Moriel, Sharpton, all of them did not lead any men on Capitol Hill. So Jeff and I, Jamal, we said we going. So we put the call out. We said, meet us at the fountain. 200 black men showed up. 200 black men showed up because we put the call out. Y'all, it was impromptu. I see one of the brothers there, Clark Green, said I was there. We put the call out. They showed up. We just didn't matter. There were people of all fraternities, brothers who weren't in fraternities, church folk, unchurched, they showed up. Most of them brothers had never been to Capitol Hill before. We were met by Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, Congressman Andre Carson. They walked us through. Y'all, there was more security there for 200 black men than when all them white folks stormed the Capitol on January 6th. So we went in. And we told the brothers, they said, we're going to go to Senator John Cornyn. We're going to go to Senator Thad Cochran's office. We're going to Mitch McConnell's office. We going to their offices. Remember, I told y'all, present and presence. Present and presence. So we go to Senator Thad Cochran's office. Some brothers split off, went to other offices, and so we went there. We went there, and they said, "Well, you need an appointment to see the senator." I said, "Well, no, we gonna see the senator right now." And these white folks in his office, they're kind of like, "Oh, no, we filled up the office, y'all. I'm talking about we spilled into the hallway." And so they were like, "Well, you gotta have an appointment." I said, "Well, we ain't leaving until we speak to Senator Cochran." That was a sister who was with a group. They were sitting right next to us. And the sister overheard us, and she saw all of us. And she said, "We have an appointment. We got 20 minutes with the senator." She said, "I will give them 10 of my minutes." That's what the sister did. Secretary, no, you can't do that. She's like, "But it's my time. I'm ceding half of my time to them." No, you can't do that. So someone in the office, they came to one of the other brothers who wasn't one of the organizers, and they said, "Hey, it's a lot of y'all. So can y'all just all step into the hallway, because the office, and it's just a lot of y'all, and the whole office is packed." And I'm talking over here, and I heard him in my right ear agree to it. And I was literally engaged in conversation, and I go, absolutely not. We're staying right here. See, I wanted the brother who was with us to understand our presence was already having an impact. They wanted us to stand in the hallway. Had we left the office and stepped out in the hallway, our presence would no longer infiltrate that room. It was like this force was bearing down on them, and they didn't know what. I said, no. We're going to stay right here. I wanted them to feel the intensity of all this black maleness. I wanted them to feel it. I wanted them to sense it. I wanted them to be scared to death of it. It only happens when you have presence. Finally, they said, we've got you 10 minutes with the senator. The conference room, which is right next door, if y'all could make your way to the conference room. So we did. Senator Thad Cochran, God rest his soul, he was real old. He comes in, and he starts talking. And I said, Senator, we came here because we want to impress upon you the importance of confirming Loretta Lynch to the United States, to the Attorney General. I said, now let me remind you, Senator, you would not be standing here. And if y'all think I'm lying, we periscoped it so you can actually find that video. I said, let me remind you, you would not be standing here as United States Senator re-elected from Mississippi if it wasn't for black people. Because black people crossed over in the Republican runoff to defeat that Tea Party opponent of yours. You owe black people your re-election, so we fully expect you to vote for Loretta Lynch. He said, my mind is made up. I'm not going to reveal it until we vote, I assure you. And I said, well, Senator, let me assure you, if you do not vote to confirm Loretta Lynch, we will be back. And then we left. There were brothers in that group who said, brother, I ain't never seen a black man talk to a white politician the way you did. These brothers said, man, he said, when we coming back? The power is not in what I said. The power is first in that three brothers saw the need to stand up for that sister. Two, we made the call. Three, we followed through on the call. Four, they came. So here we are right now, dealing with a change in administration, dealing with the need to affect public policy, dealing with inequalities in the country. So the question is, where is the black church issuing that clarion call for brothers and sisters of faith to come together and go forth and go to these particular political institutions, these business institutions, and begin to make demands of the kind of change we talked about then? We right now are in a situation where, I'll give you an example for media, and I've been discussing this. 2018, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton had the General Accounting Office do a study that showed in 5 years the federal government spent $5 billion on media advertising. Black media got $51 million out of $5 billion. That's 1%. Your taxpayer money, black media got 1% out of the $5 billion. So folks ask, why can't we have black media? We need to have covering this, covering that. You can't cover nothing without resources, and you can't hire people without resources. So the question is, What is the black church saying to the federal government about the inequality when it comes to media dollars? There's a nearly $1 trillion pension fund of the federal government. Pension fund, public workers, black workers, Latino workers. What is the black church saying when it comes to the fact that very few African Americans are participating in those pension funds? So let me help y'all out when I say pension funds. Wall Street is driven largely by large investors who are what? Pension funds. Who are those pension fund people? Police officers, firefighters, teachers, public workers. That's the money that makes up the investment in America. Venture capital funds, Silicon Valley. We try to have a conversation with them. Why aren't they investing in black and brown companies? Their money comes from pension funds, which means their money comes from public workers, which means their money comes from black and brown people. Every single state in America has a pension fund, which means that white folks are building massive amounts of wealth with the dollars of black teachers and public workers who work for the city and the county and the state and the federal government. And I need to understand why every single church in this country is not putting pressure on their state pension funds to say, are you investing in black companies? Are these pension fund managers, do they have black partners? Are you using black lawyers and black bonds and black accounting firms and black law firms? That's our money. The greatest wealth in black America is held by public workers. That's pension funds. The Department of Defense has the largest budget in the federal government, more than any other agency. What about the contracts there? How are black businesses able to get these contracts? Instead, they're forced to be subcontractors. Maynard Jackson taught us about that. 1973 in Atlanta, black folks were getting 0.0012% of all Atlanta contracts. He said, no, we got to change that. We can't talk about Atlanta today and the impact of black business today if you ignore what Maynard Jackson did his first 2 terms, follow up by Andrew Young, follow up by Maynard Jackson, follow up by Bill Campbell, Shirley Franklin, Kasim Reed, Keisha Lance Bottom, which is why there's no way in the world black folks in Atlanta, especially the black church, can be silent when Keisha Lance Bottoms is running again, because you almost lost last time having a black mayor in Atlanta. The economic condition has been changed because we have had access to power and access to money. So the note that was sent to me, they wanted me to speak about social justice, but let me say this here. America ain't got no problem with us talking about mass incarceration. America has no problem with us talking about criminal justice reform. What America does not want us focusing on is the money. That is not what they want us to focus on. You don't believe me? Dr. King said it. He said in his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? He said it didn't cost America much to allow us to be able to go to parks, to go into restaurants, to ride the buses on interstate travel. He said it didn't cost America much, but is America ready to write that bigger check? America had no problem with Dr. King talking about civil rights and voting rights, but when Dr. King started talking about the money, that's when it was a problem. There's a reason they filibustered the Fair Housing Act for 2 years. Voting Rights Act was signed in 1965. They filibustered. Y'all got to remember, the initial civil rights bill included all of it, presented to Kennedy in 1960. It included accommodations and voting and housing. Kennedy gets killed. LBJ says, I got to break it up. So you got civil rights in 64, voting rights act in 65. They did not want housing to be there. It was boycotted in the U.S. Senate for 2 years. It was in 1968 when Senator Edward Brooke, the first black elected to Senate since Reconstruction, actually helped broker the filibuster. It happened, but it was still filibustered in the House. King gets assassinated on April 4th, 1968. April 5th, 1968. LBJ sends a letter to the House saying, let's honor Dr. King's life by passing the bill he gave his life for, and that was then signed into law 9 days later. Why did America fight the Fair Housing Act? Because they did not want black people being able to live in their neighborhoods, because they did not want us to be able to have houses that we could then resell and then take the profits off of that and reinvest. Most Americans' wealth in this country comes from home ownership, yet today home ownership of black people is at around 42%. I'm sitting here watching all these commercials and all these companies talking about what they gonna do for social justice. I see a big old announcement from JP Morgan announcing they gonna spend $30 billion when it comes to home loans. That's your job, to give out loans to black people. How you gonna make a big announcement about how you're gonna sit here and give out $30 billion worth of home loans? That's what you're supposed to be doing. That ain't a press release. So how many of us have our bank deposits in Wells Fargo and Bank of America and JP Morgan? And how many of us are challenging them on how that money is being spent? They spending your money. I'm talking about how we must be sitting here challenging people vertically and horizontally. I'm talking about when we go to the table, and let me be real clear. When I say go to the table, I say go to the table representing the interests of black people. I'm the Vice President Digital for the National Association of Black Journalists. When I go to the table and meet with folks, I emphasize the B in NABJ. I ain't got no problem with other folk. We can sit here and talk. We can deal with Latinos and Asians and Native Americans. I'm going to deal with that after I deal with black people. I'm talking about using our power in a much different way to affect change in America. I'm talking about having an all-out assault on the federal government and the state government when it comes to dollars, when it comes to access, when it comes to spending. And see, I'm not going to have that conversation about social dollars, because see, we ain't about to have a welfare conversation. Because see, what I need you to understand, prior to COVID, we had 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America. 2.5 million only had one employee. That means 100,000 African-American businesses had more than one employee, doing an average revenue of $2.6 million of $54,000 in revenue. Y'all, come on. 7 years ago, we had 1.9 million black-owned businesses. They were doing an average revenue of $110,000. So here we added, pre-COVID, 700,000 new black-owned businesses, and the revenue got cut in half. Our issue is not we need more black-owned businesses. Our issue is we need black businesses with capital, with capacity that can grow. When I launched Roland Martin Unfiltered, the day I launched, I was in the top 5% of black-owned businesses because I had 7 employees. I'm building this platform because I'm not about to keep asking CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, CBS, please, can y'all please cover us? Oh my Lord, thank you so much for bringing your cameras out. No, I talk about black folks every single day, 5 days a week, live stream 7 days a week. Why? Because I don't have to ask anybody's opinion to do so. When I went down to Georgia to help Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, I didn't ask nobody, could I? I asked myself because I own it. We got to where we are because we use the power of ownership. We leverage the power of the black church. We leverage the authority of the black pulpit. We supported black newspapers and black banks and black hotels. And there's no way there's a future forward for black America if we continue to beg for white validation, hoping they gonna do right. I'm gonna close this in 3 minutes. This is very simple. we have significant untapped power. Imagine if Moses never used the power God granted him. Imagine if Elijah never used the power that God granted him. Imagine if Nehemiah never visited the wall that crumbled and then gave the orders to where we were going to move forward. If Nehemiah didn't, the people would have never said, let us rebuild. Ella Baker and Dr. King clashed because Ella Baker believed in the power was pulpit to pew. King believed the power was pew to pulpit. Was pulpit to pew. Ella Baker believed it was pew to pulpit. King, pulpit, pew. Ella Baker, pew, pulpit. What I'm about to say might unsettle some people, but I said the same thing when I spoke in Atlanta to AME bishops. And again, the show is called Unfiltered for a reason. If there are some bishops in your denomination who are not modern day Nehemiahs, it's time for y'all to retire. Let me just go ahead and say that, because I ain't got time. I ain't got time to be dancing around subjects. I don't have time to be playing with people. We are dealing with white supremacy in this country. We're dealing with lack of leadership. We're dealing with folk who are not using the influence that God gave them. You cannot stand in places with all of the pomp and circumstances and all the adornments that come with power if you're unwilling to use it. It doesn't matter being called bishop if you don't act like a bishop. It doesn't matter being called a leader if you don't lead like a leader. It doesn't matter if you don't use it, if you have it, but you don't use it. Great men and great women were not remembered for untapped power. They were remembered for how they used it to change the condition of their people. And that means we've got to have leadership in the 21st century who are standing firm, who are standing tall, who when they fire arrows at them, they don't duck, they don't dodge, they stand there and people say, there goes a leader, there goes somebody who's not scared. We must be willing to exercise our power. We must begin to challenge people and look power in the face. When we come to the table, we come walking in boldness and clarity. Don't say you walk with the power of Jesus, and if you walk like you are limp. If you walk into the room, you walk in with the power. You look like you got the power. You act like you got the power. You show them power. And then when they say, who do you think you are? You then turn around and say, look who is behind me. And when they look, you ain't got to turn around because you already know who's behind you. You already know you got 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. And when they see you coming, and when they see your army behind you, they are going to bow down and then say, what is it? What is it that you want? And then when you open your mouth, don't ask for nothing small. Ask for something major. Ask for something huge. Go larger, go bigger, because you are representing a group of people who have given more to this nation than they have given back. This is our moment for a third reconstruction. Du Bois talked about the first Reconstruction. The second one was the Black Freedom Movement. This is the third Reconstruction. Now is the moment for the Black church to rise up again and exert its power and its influence and to mobilize its people. And if you have leaders who have been sitting in positions for a long time and the conditions still look the same, I ask you to respectfully ask them to step aside. And if they are not willing to step aside, then you say we will remove you to bring up a new generation of leaders who are going to walk in the power and the authority of Jesus Christ and lead their people to the promised land. That is not going to be done with weakness. That is not going to be done with folks who are fat and happy. That is not going to be done with people who are willing to sell out our people and simply profit themselves. Profit. I am calling for a new generation of prophetic voices to challenge America to do what's right by its people. And that means that the AME church must join with every other Black church and say, we are going to walk in our power and use our presence because we're tired of just being present. Now I can take your questions.
Quickly. Martin, if there are questions now, we will entertain 3 of them for time's sake. If there are questions, who's asking them this time? I think Dr. Bridget Gloucester, Dr. Gloucester or Ms. McNair, are there questions?
Yeah, I see questions right here.
Answer the question. We're going to let her ask them.
Okay.
And then you will answer them for.
Okay, got it. Okay, got you. Go ahead.
Continuing to distinguish ourselves as the Black church, bring about unity in our society, or continue to promote separation and segregation?
No, it is what it is. Look, Donald Trump had no problem communicating with the white church. Now, the media didn't call the white church, but it was the white church. It was their white slaveholder religion they were leading. So no, it's not promoting that. Here's the deal: Black folks got to be tired of being scared of black. Again, it is what it is. So my deal is, you walk in your authority. I wouldn't be scared to call it the Black church because, again, first of all, calling it the Black church separates you from the nonsense of these white conservative evangelicals. And so absolutely, walk in your power. The Black church, I'm a member of the Black media, Black owned media. I ain't afraid to say it. I'm not afraid of my blackness. When they see A Phi A, I let them know who we are. When they see Sigma Pi Phi Boule, I let them know who we are. When they see the Masons, I let them know who we are. We got to learn to walk in our power.
All right, next question. Ms. McNair?
Yes, there were some other questions, but I don't know where they went. They're not here right now.
If you will re-answer.
Actually, I saw one of the questions before it disappeared, and one of the questions was specifically about this agenda for Black America. Here's one of the greatest mistakes we make. We get together and we come up with these 30, 40, 50 plans that we're going to do. No, throw that out the window. You should have 3 priorities. You should have 3 fundamental priorities that you are focused on for the next 365 days. And then what you should do is, and then you should say, this is what how we're going to work. So if you declare that we're going to focus on economic justice, that means that on the national level, the AME says we're going to be dealing with the federal government when it comes to the procurement dollars. That's first. Then we're going to be dealing with these major corporations on their spending in every single category. And let me be real clear. I ain't talking about buying tables at a banquet or the NAACP or the Urban League. I'm talking about the billions that they spend. Then what you do is you then have your regional and your state leadership focus on in their particular places. Then you have your churches in cities focus on the same thing in the city and the county. So now what should happen, and a year later, you should be able to go back and say, this is how we were able to impact this. We were here and we were able to increase black spend with all these different people to the tune of 2, 3, 5, 10 billion or whatever it is. And so strip away the 30 different things, come up with 3 pillars, and then have your folks then build from there.
All right, we have time for one more question, if there is one. Do you see it, Ms. McNair?
Yes. Mr. Martin, is it
Yep.
possible the new reconstruction may cause more division in the black church and promote the black church?
Say it again.
Is it that the new reconstruction may cause more division in the black church than promote the black church?
How?
They seemed afraid to move. Unfortunately, there needs to be more unification for us to grow.
No. Okay, hold up, please, y'all. Listen to me. Listen to me, please. There has never been in the history of any movement where everybody agreed. Show me any movement, take your time, that started where everybody agreed, where there was unity. No. Our problem is not unity. Our problem is leadership. What we do is we waiting for the mass meeting. Well, if we can get, this is what we do. If we get all the stakeholders come together and then we can all agree. Show me when that happened. All these folks who said they marched with King, most of them lying. They weren't there. They lying. Very simple, y'all. The Montgomery bus boycott. Please understand this. The Montgomery bus boycott was a 1-day boycott. 50,000 black people didn't get on buses. They then said, let's do 5. After the 5th day, they said, let's let it continue. It was never planned to go 381 days. What we do is we want to have the big meeting. I ain't having a big meeting. My deal is you issue the clarion call. Whoever shows up, that's who you work with. What I am describing for you works on the local level, the state level, the regional level, national level. My parents were part of a group called our Clinton Park Civic Club, where I grew up, that would hate us. And again, I'm using Nehemiah as the basis of this, y'all. It parallels. People said, man, what y'all doing? Y'all can't get nothing done. You know what they did? They kept meeting. By 6, 7 of them, they kept meeting. They invited about 100 people. No, they didn't want to come. So the 6 and 7 went ahead and met. So they sat here and they met. And they said, we're gonna have a cleanup. We're gonna clean up our one street next month. Then the next month we're gonna do this here. Then the next month, and then they built it. They were like, well, what else we can do? You know, we need to get these overgrown lots torn down. Then we need to go ahead and get this done. Then that thing built where they say, you know what? We need to get our park refurbished. So where that money come from? Oh, a bond initiative. So we're gonna go press our city council for a bond initiative. Then they said we need some new parks. We need some new sidewalks. We need some new sewer systems. We need some new street lights. We want to turn that old firehouse into a senior citizen center. Y'all, that thing all started with 6, 7 people. They went door to door, and the haters like, man, y'all can't do it. You know what they said? Keep building. That's Nehemiah, read chapter 2, 3, and 4. Nehemiah said, keep building. And then the haters said, y'all can't build this. That's what they said to my parents. They said, okay, y'all keep building. And then when the haters said, well, no, they making progress. Nehemiah said, keep one hand on your weapon, keep the other hand building. The point is, you have to start somewhere. forget this idea of unity. Do you know what's the best way to create unity? Is for them to see success. So what you think is going to happen if the AME church says, come on, let's meet, and most of them don't show up, and y'all meet, and y'all create those 3 pillars, and then y'all get to work? You know what's going to happen? They're going to see what y'all doing, and they're going to say, can we come to the next meeting? Y'all can say, sure. Now, we ain't slowing down for you to catch up, but you can come to the next meeting. Can we join y'all? Sure. Can we join y'all? Sure. Come on. See, that's how you build. We lose when we wait for total buy-in. Total buy-in will never happen. All you got to do is just start. All I'm saying with this reconstruction is you got to just start. Somebody is waiting for you to start. And then when you start, you build. And if you go back to read Nehemiah, which is actually the best biblical example of how you reconstruct a community, you will read in the scripture where Nehemiah says this group built this portion of the wall, 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 which means they built what's right in front of them. So you got to tell the AMEs in Atlanta, I need you to focus on Atlanta, but the AMEs who are in Columbus, you focus on Columbus. Now we can work together, but I need you to build where you are. Then I need the AMEs who are in Charlotte to stop worrying about the AMEs in Atlanta. I need y'all to focus on what's happening in Charlotte. Then I need the AMEs in St. Louis to build in St. Louis, and the AMEs in LA to build in LA, and the AMEs in Houston to build in Houston. Then the AMEs down in Macon to build in Macon, and the AMEs in Alabama. See, what we do is we spend all our time worrying about what somebody else is doing. No, I need you to build just where you are. Y'all, start small. The reconstruction is real. The reconstruction can happen. But last point, there cannot be a reconstruction if you don't start building. In Nehemiah, the people said, after Nehemiah gave the vision, they said, quote, let us rebuild. The reconstruction starts when we rebuild, which means we gotta start constructing.
We want to thank you again, Mr. Martin. Thank you for your unfiltered comments and the truth which you have provided in your opinions in this forum. How grateful we are, and I express the appreciation of the entire 2nd Episcopal District and all of those persons all over the country and world who are viewing today. We have truly learned from your insights, and part of what helps us to grow is gathering the opinions of others, and it helps us to build our own sense of conviction as we are moved towards examining that with what we believe Scripture to be saying. Thank you again, and God bless you.
I appreciate it.
God bless now.